Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. And this thing is big. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. I'm Don Martin, joined by
Gordy Gundaker.
Our show is brought to you by Nutrient Agriculture, Hoker Trucking, Bodies by Skinny, an official Longhorn dealer, and my guest owner's company, Chucker Customs.
That's right. Screen printing and embroidery, baby.
That's right. And Gordy's going to take over from here and talk to you a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, this week we've got a great guest coming on the show. It really needs no introduction, but we got Jonathan Davenport, fresh off another dream win, his third in a row, his fourth overall. Just pretty unbelievable. Really, now that we've got $200,000 winners on the Dirt Parlor so far this year, which is pretty neat. And obviously super excited. JD's one of my great friends. He's a mentor of mine. He's taught me a lot, over the years, and I'm excited to have him on here. Just to talk with him, and hear a lot about his weekend and all the things that he's accomplished at Eldora, which is spectacular, really. Kind of thinking about it, what he's done there in the last 10 years. It's just, he just keeps piling them up and piling them up and piling them up. And not trying to toot my own horn, but I called it.
You did call it.
I said Hoffman was going to run in the top three.
Yep.
The only
thing you didn't call was the lucky dog.
Yeah. Well,
but hell, he didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever.
Yeah. But Dale Mack up there battling. McCready was right up front, which I said was a dark horse. It's almost like I know my shit or something.
Well, we had the dream at Eldora Saturday night lived up to expectations. What I saw was a guy win the race again that has been taking a car. Every time he takes that car there, seems to just get it done. And even after the tough start they got, the way they rebounded, there's not too many people that could have done that, Gord. No. What we saw. And he did again. Yeah. And it's not magic because it's happening too frequently.
No. And they just keep proving it over and over again why every year they are up front at big races. They are up front for championships, all those things, because they are a well-oiled machine over there at the 49 camp. And even when it goes wrong, as it did on Wednesday, they rebounded in a day. Literally, one day get 24 hours to fix their shit, and they come out and they win on Friday night, and they dominate on Saturday. And it's crazy in this time of everybody talking about how much technology is changing and how the shock programs are so different and all these things, and yet here he is with a race car that's 4 years old that keeps going there and winning and winning and winning. And I can imagine, I know even from sitting at home, but these guys that are chasing him got to be scratching their heads going, man, what in the hell do we got to do to knock him off the Eldora pedestal? And I don't know if there's an answer right now. I don't know if I think, there's two more worlds, two more dreams at least, I think.
I agree.
And I think...
how could you not after watching what you saw?
Yeah.
It's hard to... And then he looks like he's not done. No. He's motivated.
Yeah.
And I think the people that when they're watching this show are going to see that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think...
There's no quitting that dude.
No, and you know what? His high in life is winning big races, and that's what he strives to do. He goes out to win the races that matter the most, that mean the most to the sport. And don't get me wrong, he wins all the other ones too,
and championships.
Right, but he's got that same demeanor that Scott had when he was there, that Billy had when he was there. That when you roll into the gate at Eldora, the 49 is the one to beat until the day, until he quits. There might be 10 years down the road where, but I really think that if JD ever gets to that point where he's not competing the way he wants to, you won't see him in a race. He's not going to just fizzle.
I get that too. He's walking away.
He won't, and it's nothing against your Billies and your Scott and those guys that maybe kind of probably stayed too long, but there's definitely JD's not going to be one of those guys that will stay and hang around. He will, when he feels like he can't go out there and win every weekend, he'll just go hang out at the ranch and drink his beer and do whatever else he does. So
Well, I'll tell you what, these people better tune into this show.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, that's your mistake.
Yeah, guaranteed.
So, you know, Gordy did an incredible job getting Jonathan in. It's obvious that he's comfortable with Gordy. And Gordy, you're the voice of the industry, baby.
That's right. Well, we try to be, and it's cool to have a lot of great people who I call friends and mentors, that we're able to get on this show, and it's exciting for the people at home who listen to this show and get to see a lot of these sides of these guys that they don't normally get to see and talk about conversations they don't normally get to hear about. So that's what the Dirt Parlor is all about, and we're excited to have JD on here, and I'm excited for everybody back home to listen.
Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. I'm Don Martin. I'm joined by my co-host. This is Gordy Gundaker. Tonight's guest, we have got the one and only Superman in the house tonight with us, Jonathan Davenport. Jonathan's coming off another one. Shouldn't say like this kind of getting kind of common. You know what I mean? It's no surprise. But imagine Jonathan Davenport winning another big race at Eldora Speedway. Anyway, Jonathan, thanks first of all for coming on the show and joining us, buddy. And I feel like we should get up and do a little bow.
I'm not doing that.
You're not doing it?
Hell no, I'm not doing it.
So, but anyway, talk a little bit about, last week, bud. The floor is yours. What a great couple of days, especially after you got a little bit off to a rocky start.
Rocky is an understatement. We got off to a shitty start is what we got off to. Just from the time I pulled out in hot laps and went in high gear, I had a vibration that I really couldn't describe and figure out what it was. And then I just knew that we just wasn't good. And my first qualifying lap, I didn't feel good in hot laps. Went to qualifying, changed a few things, and I qualified like 20 or something on the first lap, and tried to get a little bit more, and it just wasn't there for me. So I bottomed out, hit the wall, and escalated our problems. And so it just went all to hell from there.
Yeah, well, and that's it's funny. I'm obviously being around you for God knows how long now. Like, you're the pickiest motherfucker in the pit area I've ever met, for sure. and so, but in the same turn, it's like, when something's wrong, and especially with that race car, that's your baby. And so when you go there and realize it pretty quickly, it's probably a good thing they have the flow nights now on Wednesday night, because it really could have set you back the whole weekend if, you roll out there in your prelim night. Oh
yeah, for sure. So, normally I tried to bring another car and try to run there for those, like the flow race or the Appleseed or whatever they used to have, the Earltis Classic. But, for whatever reason, I decided to run my Eldora car that night. And yeah, definitely glad we did. And so, once we hit the wall there, we got everything changed. We got everything replaced, and it should have been just fine. And went out for the heat race. And I couldn't even keep up with the back of the pack there. So after that, I didn't even back into my stall. I just kind of pulled off after the heat race. I said, something's wrong. We got another day tomorrow to go through this thing. Let's obviously, we possibly could be racing for points for the flow deal. Because we're sitting second there, but we've not really decided if we're going to go to all of them or not. So anyway, we pulled the other car out, just got out there, got everything done. Guys done a great job, man. I worked their tails off all week, and we got out for the B main, and the car was pretty good there. And then I just wanted to try some new things at Eldora that we found this year. It's been pretty good, and put it on that car and went out there and was really good when there was a little bit of grip in the track. But as soon as it got pretty slick, then we couldn't steer. I just over tightened the car, and so we ran 12th. But we knew what we did to that car and thought it was going to be okay. So that gave us a good amount of time to fix the other car.
Well, and I'm sure, I couldn't imagine, like being there, you kind of have to put a whole game plan together of what you're going to change or what you're trying to find. But I feel like you guys probably probably took, tackled everything, probably I couldn't imagine. I'd imagine it was spindles and lowers and racks and God knows how much. And I think, from my point of view, it's like, I know what it's like. You go out there and all of a sudden it's like your race car goes to shit. You don't know where to start, but at that point you only have a day. So, you're kind of in a full overhaul with, the biggest race, to this point of the year on the line. I'm sure Corey and Tyler and those guys, I can't imagine how much work they probably did on Thursday. But clearly it all paid off because Friday night you get out there and it's like you never skipped a beat.
Yeah, for sure. So like I told him, I said something mechanically is wrong with this thing, and it ain't nothing. It ain't like it has been sitting in the corner, but they've been working on it, going over it. The last time we ran it, the last lap at the Dirt Track World Championship, we just took the lead and it blowed a motor, broke a rod bolt. So yeah, so we had to take the whole the oil system off and clean it and everything, and went back through everything, just checking. Nah, they put it back on the scales. Whatever we always do to that car, they went back over it again, and so it was just some type of mechanical piece that we didn't change that was gonna maybe even come up in the later stages of the Dirt Track World Championship.
Jonathan, the one thing that I've always been impressed with is your demeanor. You don't seem like, even when things get tough, you don't get rattled. And it shows in the same way he drives. I've always so much respect the way you conduct yourself, even outside the track when you're being interviewed. You always seem like you just got, it's going to be good. It's going to go, the boys, we're going to make the changes necessary. And you apply that, your personality, just like what we're telling you, the easy, I don't want to say easy going, but you know what I mean? You just have an aura about you outside of the car. And I think you take that and it looks to me like sometimes you look effortless. And I know it's the hard work that you're doing, but it just looks to me like sometimes, man, I wouldn't want to race against you. I know that. I fuck that. Because your personality just, man, everything I say is like, man, this guy's got the confidence out the ass, and by God, he should have. I was just, man, as a competitor, Gordy, talk about a little bit about that. Like when you see him outside the racetrack, he's talking, and then you see the way he presents himself on the racetrack. You've known him, you know him as well as anybody. It's got to be a little bit intimidating.
Well, it's not so bad if we go to Fairbury because I feel like I have a fighting chance. But
when I've got that place figured out now.
I wasn't. No, it doesn't count. I wasn't there.
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay.
But that's, truly, I've been around Jonathan since 2016. We parked at the USA Nationals together up at Cedar Lake, and I'll tell you what, it wasn't as easy going back then. I will say that much. So back then he was, he was a little more uptight, a little more stressed out about what was going on than he is today. He used to put down a few cigarettes when he was a little nervous. So I've seen those before. But at the same time, I think when you go race with him, and I just think that he expects, obviously everybody does now, expects him to be up front. But he has that when he walks in there, like he's not there to run fifth. He's not there just to have a top 10. That's not what it is. And obviously it helps you have a great program with Lance and Steve Martin there, all your guys, Corey and Tyler and your whole crew. And obviously that boosts your confidence when the shit does hit the fan like it does this weekend. I would say 95% of the guys will hit the panic button and they might wash a whole weekend before they figure it out. And that's what's different about, racing with him. And I think too, is that, JD does it all in a sense of like, it can be slick. It can be hammer down. It can, I don't want to say be around the Uke tires, because that's kind of the Achilles heel. So if we could race it all with Uke tire places, we might be able to beat them.
Yeah, we got $100,000 race cars racing around Uke tires. Do something. It's
Yeah.
somebody has got to come up with something better than racing around
Yeah.
tires.
But let's not wait before we get too far past this. We were at Tri-City one year for a Lucas race, and he's running right in front of me with like 6 to go. We're running 3rd and 5th, and he pummels a Uke tire coming to the green on a restart. Hits the Uke tire, goes in, damn near stops in 1 and 2. I'm right up his ass. I get on the brakes to miss him. Like 4 guys go by us, and he comes down bitching at me, telling me that we don't need these stupid ass Uke tires at Tri-City no more. I'm like, hell, you cost me 5 spots. I'm mad at you. So, but it's funny, but at the same time, there
Shouldn't
is
have Uke
no,
tire.
yeah.
Would never happen.
I told him every time he comes there now, I tell him we paint him a different color so he can see him. I don't know, because
Yeah.
he's got to wear glasses now when he races. So we're trying to
I
make
am
him as
getting.
bright as possible.
Well, I appreciate that.
But it's tough racing with him because there is no weakness to what he's doing right there. You go to Wheatland when it's slick, or it's get it on and he's right up front. You go to Eldora and it's the same deal, and it's rough as hell at Eldora, it's right up front. It's perfect at Eldora, it's over with, right? And so I think that's one of the hardest parts when you go race against the 49 is that you're like, there is no racetrack that you go to going, all right, well, we got an upper hand on him. So I don't want to gloat too much for him. I don't want to keep kissing his ass because that's enough of it. But it's cool to see at the same time, because there's only been a few guys in our sport who have dominated the way he has, especially at the big events. Hell, the stat that was crazy the other day was that you got 22 feature wins at Eldora, including 11 crown jewels.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you date back to when you started racing, right? Winning one race at Eldora is a dream, right? No pun intended, but it's like,
no, sure.
Here you are sitting on the Mount Rushmore of what is our sport. I mean, I know Rigsby asked you that question the other night, but what is that for you from the transition of what you thought your racing career was going to be to where it is now? Kind of explain what that feels like to you and how, your career has progressed over the years.
Yeah. I can't believe it myself. I never would have thought I'd be in this position to be fortunate enough to win all these races. That's the reason when we did win that 1 in 15 or got it give to us, whatever you say, we partied all night like we wasn't supposed to be there, like we didn't know how to be there, because hell, we thought that was the one and only, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
we had no idea, what was coming in the future, and you can't predict that. But I just I've grown as a person and a driver, and just gotten older and more experience. You can't buy experience, and that's just something I took for granted really over the years. Like I always tried to be better and watch the older guys and what they did. And so I just always learning, kept my mouth shut in the corner, and always listening.
Hey, Jonathan, how'd you get the 49? How'd you get the number 49?
That was my dad's number. So he went through several numbers. I think he was A1 at one time. And then I think he was another number at one time. Hell, I think he was a Earnhardt 3, I think everybody was at one
Gotcha.
time. But no, there was a guy in Georgia at that time, Bud Lunsford, that was like kicking everybody's ass. He always had a gold car, and just from the South. And I think Dad kind of just took his number and put it on his car. And then so that's what my dad ran the rest of his career before he quit. And when I started racing, he kind of made me take that number, actually, because the first go-kart I got was 77.
Awesome.
And for whatever reason, I really liked that number and I didn't want to change it. So the first race I ran 77 in a go-kart, and the next one, Dad's like, no, you're taking 49. Well, he was bigger than I was at that time, so I wouldn't go argue with him too much. So I took 49, and I've been that ever since.
And then all of a sudden now we go Superman. I know at first I remember I remember when you started and you had the Superman thing. I remember Bloomer once told me, he said, "The son of a chain one, yeah, he's got Superman." Now Scott's probably looking up there going, "That's right, he's earned that."
Yeah.
So talk about a little bit how the Superman kind of came about.
Like I can't put my finger on it. I really don't know. I don't know if anybody really knows, just to be honest with you. I know one
Yeah,
time, like my way back in the day, I was, just nobody running an old GRT car at Tri County, and my graphics guy, Jeff Helton, like in his graphics logo had a Superman emblem. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Hell, let's put it on the roof, And then we had I copied at that time, hell, you just copy all your favorites or whatever. So I had the checkered flag roof like Clint Smith. So I had a Superman emblem and a checkered flag roof, and then
see, I
a
love it.
couple years later, like we had a big race at Tri County, and like I was young and dumb and had a Rayburn and nobody else did. And it was rough and wide open, and I come from the back like a couple times, and still wreck as normal like I always did back then, or blowed up. And
Yeah,
they say that's where it come from, but I don't know. It
gotcha.
just people started calling me that, and it stuck.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing: 350. He's nearly got 350 wins already, and
Got a couple.
it's. I don't think we realize. And I was looking at the website today, and going through. Is the dirt track the only thing basically you haven't accomplished, right? I mean, after that, it's game on. You know.
The dirt track and the firecracker. That's the two that I got on my list.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you knocked off Knoxville, the one, and I know you don't even like that place, so that ought to
Yeah. Yeah.
which blows me away because when I look at Knoxville Raceway and I look at Jonathan Davenport, you would think it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, I'm like, but what is it about that place that you don't seem to that you and that old girl just don't seem to get along?
Yeah. I used to kind of like it when I first started going there, but I think it's half the track prep. And then over the years, I hate inverts for one thing. So that pisses me off when I get there. And then the track prep, they used to try to keep it so heavy with a big cushion. Well, that's something. And then over the years, they can say what they want, and I'll argue till I am out of breath. They have narrowed that place up so much over the years. And like you can't even run the old Billy Moyer line there anymore. Like you just can't do it. And these cars, we run more sideways. The bodies are bigger. They're more yawed out, and we take up more air, and the racetrack's smaller. So
Right.
I just don't think it races as good as it could. If they would widen it back out, they keep narrowing it up, bringing the bottom out so Donnie don't win every time. So, they change Eldora because I don't win. So I don't win. They change Knoxville so Donnie don't win. But I get it. But for the late models,
Yeah.
we need it wider. I would actually probably like the place if it was just wider and we could race better.
Gotcha. Well, that reminds me, I'd like to talk to you about, it was a big thing we talked about last week, the format of Eldora. Going to, we're splitting the fields now in a way to, kind of I'd love to get your thought. I mean, you just won. I mean, I can't be that bad, but at the same time, I'd be curious to see what your feelings are. Cause I know Mike Marlar, he pretty much came out and just said, this is crazy, the way that it's being done here.
I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, obviously.
Sure.
If I'm there, I really want to be racing to try to make a dollar. The truck's sitting there, the guys are sitting there. We're paying them. We need to be bringing money in if we're at a racetrack. But it is kind of cool to relax and chill out with the fans, watch the races, have a beer. Whatever you want to do, go get something good to eat around the area, and then come back and watch the race. So I can see it both ways. That it can be good and bad. The only thing that I don't like is the inverts. I just think, I even heard, like I was listening, I think it was maybe Thursday night, we wasn't racing. And I was actually listening to the PA system. I think it was Dustin Jarrett talking. He's like, first through 20th used to be 2 seconds or a second. Now it's 2/10. So like, it's so hard to pass nowadays. I really truly believe that you would have it kind of works in my favor the way it is now, but you would have a better race if all the good cars started in the front for the whole 100 laps. Yeah, you have somebody coming from 18th to 4th. You have somebody coming from 24th to 2nd sometimes. But by the time they get there, the guy that has caught the invert just right, still has a good car, ain't burned up his tires, ain't used up his equipment, ain't knocked the spoiler off. He's not had to burn his stuff up coming all the way through the field. It would be a better race if all the good cars was in the front of the field.
Well, and I think last week when we talked about our dream preview, that we asked this question, and I think, what I really said was when Earl built that place, it was built for the baddest of the baddest, right? It was made for, if you have the best race car and you are the best driver, you win at Eldora, which I still obviously think happened this weekend, but I think the fans are robbed sometimes of that opportunity because you get these inverts, you get all those. Like, I think that when you go there, it's, hey, I think it's one feature on Thursday, one feature on Friday, one feature on Saturday, but everybody races because hell, back in the day, it was 250 cars would go there and race, and 24 guys made the race, and that was it. And if you didn't go there and win or make the race, like, that was on you and on your program to do it. Yeah, you got bad luck and those things. But I think it's like that place is a one of one, and that's, you should go there and race straight up from the time you go in the gate until the time you leave, because that's what that place is about. A lot of money at stake. And it's obviously it's because of the entertainment and the streaming and all of these things that they try to put a show on. But I'm with you where if all the best guys started in the front 4 rows, you're still going to get a hell of a race. It's not like one guy's just leaving. Well, maybe in your case, you might have still, but at the same time, it's, I completely agree that it's like, if you go there, you have to go there to line up, qualify correctly, do all these things. Like, you go in there on Saturday and, you draw a 4 invert for the Saturday heat races and you see what happens. The furthest, Bobby was the only one that got to 2nd in any of those heat races. Everybody else ran 3rd. That was high point guys that started 4th in their heat races. That was it. And Overton didn't make it through. I think is the only one. But still, it's the same deal where, like you're saying, we're all so close, especially like the first 2 heat races on Saturday. It was flat on the floor going around there. There's nothing you can do. You're just getting in line and riding.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I mean, I get the entertainment factor of a faster guy being behind somebody else, but that's not the way it is. The guy that's maybe not the faster guy, the guy with more points just got a better invert or a better pill draw the day before. So like, yeah. It's not like it used to be at all. I still think the entertainment factor would be better. Everybody wants to see the last lap be awesome, right? The last 5 laps be awesome. Who cares about the first 50 laps? You got the guys that had a bad weekend, starting in the back of the field, but made the feature coming to the front. Well, then it all kind of fizzles out. Why not let them go up there and race and, make their chess moves throughout the whole race, all the good guys. And hey, the last 10 laps, they're going to be 6 or 7 of us right there in a group, and then you're going to have a badass finish, instead of this other thing. I would truly like to sit down and talk to the powers that be about this. I honestly think it would make the racing at Eldora better.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy too, coming from you as you've won all these races, but you've done everything in those races where I don't think you've really hit them inverts correctly, and you've still managed to get to the front and win these races. And I think it almost should be a light for them, for you sitting here saying that, going, hell, I've won all these, but I still would rather it be the other way because it would be better. And I agree. I think it would be for sure. And I think at the end of the day, it's like Eldora is the granddaddy of them all. That's why we all work for our programs to go there and say, hey, this is where we line up and figure out if we're worth a shit or we're not worth a shit. So why are we trying to handicap it in a way to make it work for everybody? Like, it's not for everybody. It's not what it's supposed to be, you know? And I think I made the comment that if Earl was still around, I think he'd be pissed. You know, I really do we do it the way we do now. It's, everybody gets to make 48 cars make a feature. And, we do it off of if you qualify, great, you get all these points. Like, it should just be straight up from the minute you get there to the minute you leave. And then the best guy wins.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, I don't say how, I don't know how Earl would feel about it. Obviously, I never did get to meet the guy. But like I said, I would just like to really sit down with somebody and talk through all these scenarios and explain my side of it. Because I'm not trying to help me. I'm trying to actually help the sport and help Eldora. Everybody, thinks I just ride around and win these races and make them a snooze fest or whatever. But it's just part of it. I think it would be better because there's some cars that are on the trailer that are just as fast as I am that got a bad draw or a bad heat race and somebody messed up in front of them and they hit them or hit the wall and it just ruined their whole weekend. So as a whole, I think it would be better.
I'm curious, Jonathan, in that race Saturday night, when did you realize what part of that race, like, I've got a hot rod, everybody's in trouble? Before it started?
Well, that's the reason I keep bringing that old girl there. I didn't give up on her. We had a long discussion Wednesday night about what we was going to do. And I'm like, well, let's just sleep on it. And when we slept on it and we talked Thursday morning, we changed our minds. We actually was kind of thinking about running the other car. And I'm like, man, we brought this car here to race. Like the last time that it was here, it was really good. So let's just continue down here. So, yeah, definitely changes stuff.
Well, like JD and I were texting the other day, when you go to Eldora, if you pay enough attention to watching race cars, when he can make the corner where he goes in and kind of moseys towards the top of the racetrack and slowly turns back down and leaves in the bottom and makes the straightaway about another 150 foot long, that's a pretty good sign that the shit's about to hit the fan for everybody else. And the one restart, you did that. You went into one, kind of turned across there, you drove to fifth. You were 13th on the restart and you were fifth like a lap later. And, at that point, I mean, obviously, sitting in the seat that like, okay, well, you were running the bottom too when you passed all these guys, right? Like you weren't even out where you really normally are. And that's usually a telltale sign too, that your car's steering the way you want it to, you're able to maneuver around in traffic, and that obviously is what you aim to do for those 100 lappers is you got to be able to steer. You got to be able to work in traffic and get behind cars. I wouldn't really ever know because I'm usually the traffic, but but it's, I've been out in front of Eldora one time. I led a B main for a long time and I thought it was like, hell, I had the greatest race car in the entire world. I'm like, shit, I'm running around here flat footed. Like, this is great. This is way better than, being mired in 13th, so and like when you get to traffic, I could probably tell people at home, like, how much does that change what your race car does, at Eldora just by catching them first set of back cars?
Oh, it changes it tremendously. It changes the car as you're probably a half a straightaway behind them. Like, because even if somebody is running dead in the bottom, it looks slick all the way across it, but there's still just enough dust particles just barely moving across the track. When it's dead slick like that, like you start slowing down. So you got to move around and catch the best air you can, try to get out of the grit. I'm trying not to give all my speed secrets away here, but it changes your car behind other cars all the way up to almost a half a straightaway behind them.
Yeah. Well, and it looks that way. Obviously, you see it on the lap times and guys slowing down and how hard it is. And you get in traffic, how hard it is just to pass the guy that's running dead last.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and you probably think it's funny too, right? Obviously, when you guys lapped Nick the other night, you're probably thinking like, what the hell? And then you get on the podium. Did you realize he had rolled up through there and got back to third?
I had no idea. Like I honestly didn't even see the 9 on the board. I seen the 32, and I seen Bobby go in. I'm thinking in my mind, who in the hell else is 32 out here? Like, is the scoring messed up, or there's no way Bobby's in second? Like, I had no idea. So I just get, I kept glancing up at it, or whatever. But yeah, so that's an awesome run for both of them to come back through the field like they did. Um, I'm glad they wouldn't have cautioned at the end. I don't know how it would have turned out, but like I said, we was all in lap traffic at that time, so who really knows who had the best car?
Yeah. You like the lucky dog thing that they're doing at Eldora? Do you think, what's your thoughts kind of on that a little bit?
Um, I don't know. I got mixed emotions about that, I guess. When I was at the million, I hated it. Because we were so good and we lapped so many cars. And then then at Wheatland last year, it was this kind of same way. We drove through there and lapped so many cars, and then we kept having so many cautions, and then they're like, 25 cars are still in the lead lap or what have you. I'm like, damn, I know I lap way more than 3 cars, so so it is good and bad. It's good if you're running for points and you're having a bad night, you're starting to back, and you go a lap down early. That's awesome, and you can overcome that. So it's good for Nick and what he done. And
great job.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. He does a really good job. And so like I said, I got mixed emotions about it. I don't hate it. So it probably is good for our sport because of the way some things are set up with the inverts, and you have a bad draw or whatever, and you get stuck behind, something happens, and then you get the lucky dog and you can advance from there.
Yeah. Well, outside of Eldora, right? I mean, obviously, you've done so much now throughout the sport, right? You've won championships and big races and, all those things, but kind of looking into it, one of the things I thought obviously was cool, we've known each other a long time, but talk about having Blaine, there on Saturday, and also him just wanting to be part of it and being around it a lot more. And, obviously him traveling with you without Rachel being there, like, what's that like for you as a dad? I mean, I know it killed Rachel to not be there, but, just what it's like to enjoy that with him and have them moments.
Man, it's awesome for sure. I'd give anything to have more moments like that. I missed a lot of firsts with him. I've said this many times, but he's just now starting to really want to come with me and things like that. So I think that's great. It definitely means a lot to have him there. And Rachel wanted to be there just as much as he did, but she had other obligations. She runs a business there, and the schedules didn't work out with the other people in the office, so she couldn't leave. So she had to be there for those obligations. And I realized that also. So, yeah, but it's definitely special whenever Blaine's there and my dad gets to come. He's getting older now and don't get to go much. And, ain't like we race around the house anymore. And so it's definitely a long way for him to travel when he can come see me race.
Hey, what's it like having Steve Martin in the pit area with you? He's a great sponsor. What's that like?
Oh man,
Steve's been great.
awesome.
Steve's been wonderful for our show, for Gordy and I. We think the world of him. And I just like to know kind of like, because when I talk to him, it makes me laugh.
Oh,
he's a fun guy. I'm just curious, being the sponsor, do we get the enjoyment?
No.
Or do you get as much enjoyment out of it as we do?
I hope I do. I feel like me and him was pretty good buddies. So yeah, I mean, we met each other drinking a beer at a party. So you know what I mean. He's definitely fun, but he's serious when he needs to be. And yeah, he's a great person to have on your team and on your side. He'll come down and especially with Lance around, my car owner, they'll joke around with us, and they'll clean on the car a little bit, or they'll come in a trailer and have a beer and tell us what and all we're doing wrong and what we need to be doing. And yeah, so they definitely keep it fun when they're around.
I got some great enjoyment when we were at Wheatland a couple weeks ago. We rolled in late on Thursday, and I just pulled into the first parking spot I could find, which was on the last row, and I'm parked back there by myself. Well, by the time I finally get rolling and everything figured out, I realized Steve and Lance are parked literally right next to me. Like, we're parking buddies for the weekend. And it was so funny because Steve and Lance come over damn near every day about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, beer in hand, checking on me pretty much is what they were doing. And the first night, we get in, I make the race out of the heat race and happen to be coming back towards my trailer on a four-wheeler later. And hell, they're 2 cups in hand and they're over there going, man, that was badass. I'm like, where are you guys headed? Hell, we got to get another drink, and just like those two are a character, together in the pit area, but they're so damn fun at all times because they obviously they love it. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't, but they're like the biggest cheerleaders in the pit area too at all times. Like you'd think like, oh, they're these businessy guys and everything, but like, they're just having as much fun as the rest of us are. Hell, they're actually having way more fun than us. But they always show.
I'll guarantee it. Yeah.
They're out there laughing and, Lance is making margarita. Actually, that was a good one. On Friday night when I had all my issues, Lance earlier in the night was like, hey, you want one of these margaritas? I said, well, I can't have one yet, and he said, well, you just tell me when you're ready. Well, we didn't make it through the B main. I climbed out and I yelled across there. I said, Lance, I'm ready. He said, I'll get you one up. And so, hell, I went in, changed, I come out, and here he come over. He had got me a cup, everything. He said, I told you, I didn't forget about you. It's just, I don't know, just they're great. Obviously we've spent, I don't know how many nights after the race is all hanging together. And there is, I think the best time we always have is the next one because every one of them seems to produce some kind of story or something stupid happens for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And that's a lot of times in my interviews, I'll say, Steve and Nutrien is almost like a partner to us. And because it's really cool to think about, like Steve was with Lance before I got there when Jared, all the way back to 2014, they had crop production services on Jared's car. And then they run 14, 15, 16. Jared got hurt and couldn't race no more. So they took an entire year and a half off. And, most people would have, got tired of it or went somewhere else. Steve would have went somewhere else to sponsor somebody, or Lance would have quit. But they come back and we put a deal together in late 2017 for 2018. So it's really cool that they stuck together that long and still be a part of a great deal.
Well, and you can talk about that too, right? I remember that time pretty well. That was, you ran for Barry Wright the beginning of that year, and then you ran with G.R. Smith, I believe in the middle part of that year. I remember we were actually at Tri-City when you told me that you were going to go race for Lance and then, that next year. And I don't know if you guys have tallied up. I don't know what the number is, but the amount of stuff you guys have accomplished since then is astronomical, obviously. And, you guys have had, you've gone through different crew chiefs, you've gone through different crew guys, you've gone, but obviously the staple has been Steve and Lance. And those guys obviously give you, everything you need to succeed. But at the same time, it's cool to see it's not just that, it's not just they're the car owners and you just drive for them. Like, it's well beyond that. And I think that's probably what makes it the most fun for you guys is all the success, but just it more being really a friendship at the end of the day,
Yeah, for sure. It's we've grown to be great friends, acquaintance, and more than just owner, sponsor, driver. So, we can go fishing together. We can go hunting together, whatever. We can go hang out and have a drink, go eat a steak together, whatever, we're just all a bunch of buddies, so it's a real cool bunch of people. I've put myself around and really glad I went that direction when I did in 2018, because there's not many car owners and drivers stay together as long as me and Lance have, and I hope we got a few more years between us two.
It seems like every year you hear that rumor, JD and them are right on, and you just kind of like, yeah, I love it when you hear those rumors because you're like, nah, it's not happening. I think they're just too successful together. And that kind of reminds me a little bit. I mean, how does that, like this week, you win 100K. Is there a letdown a little bit?
130K. You better get it right.
Yeah, right. Good point. Saturday, the 100K. Right. Well, then we might as well get into merchandise if we want to go there, right?
No, you were that because you were a high point guy. That was $2,500 bonus and all the other accolades you got last weekend.
Yeah.
So
we had this week you kind of unload and go to Smoky Mountains and letdown.
What'd you say? You had a pretty good weekend?
Yeah. Well, from looking back at it, we had a pretty good weekend. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, Jonathan, is like when you got this weekend, you got Smoky Mountain this weekend, and it's a 10 and a 30 after all the preparation that goes into Eldora and everything you do, and you pretty much accomplished all your goals last weekend. Is it kind of a little bit of a letdown the following week after it? You feel like you need another week to recharge the batteries, or are you ready to go?
Nah, I'm still pretty fucking serious. No.
Yeah, you are.
No, I've not won at Smoky Mountain in over 10 years. I was really close at the World Outlaw race, and that's a place that I really like. I enjoy it. It's in the South. It's kind of red dirt, but it's in Tennessee. It gets slick. You can move around it. I just can't pull one off there. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a good racetrack. Roger and his guys do an awesome job there, and so that's just another one I want to go win. And this year it pays really well. There's a 10 and a 30 there, and we don't have to move the truck, so get to try a few things, and hopefully we can get a little better for the big one on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, not to go too far off track, but if you say you had a favorite thing to do after the races, what would you say that is? If you had to go somewhere after the races or do something, what would you do?
Well, it just depends on where we're at. Depends on if it's a big race weekend and everybody's there hanging out, or if we got to go on to the next race, or I don't know. You go ahead and give me a scenario. Toss me a ball up.
Okay. So if you were hanging out after the Show Me 100, let's say, and maybe it was raining, everybody was leaving, what would you try to do? If there was maybe a guy there that had something you might want to use for a little bit that was cool to ride around on, what do you think you'd do?
Oh, we'd definitely have to make a lap around the campground. I mean, just to see who was out in the storm, see who still was up. We'd go and check her pulse, see if it was still alive. You know what I mean? And
well, I saw he was in Victory Lane on Saturday night.
Yeah,
Stephen was. We were. So quick backstory is after the Show Me, Stephen's the guy that rents all the golf carts out there at the Show Me, and JD convinced him to let us borrow a couple so we could go visit some patrons out in the campground, and we toured all around the place and we had a great time. But I look up in Victory Lane on Saturday and here he come waltzes in there. I'm like, shit, he couldn't get rid of him yet. He's ready for another golf cart ride.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we had a good time that night, and Steven's he's been great to deal with. They're at Lucas Speedway, and he tries to come to Eldora and check us out there. So him and Lance have been good friends. They become great acquaintances over the past couple of years after me and Hoghead totaled one of his golf carts one night. And after that, they come pretty good friends.
Yeah. He was trying to ease the bill. That's all he was doing.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man. It's funny.
So JD, we all know you love hunting and fishing, what other outside raising that? You got your son, you got Rachel, you got the ranch. You got any time for anything else? Is that pretty much it?
Oh shit. I mean, I was a gardener today. I was a pool boy today. I was a cowboy today. Yeah, I mean, that's just the day. Tomorrow I may be a carpenter. I may try to build something. You can't ever know. I may go down to Rachel's metal building business, and help her a little bit. Probably not. I can't help her. I'm just talking shit, really. But no, no. There's always something to do. So we try to stay busy. Rachel does a good job at everything at the farm when I'm gone, and I try to come in and help as much as I can when I'm home.
We actually got a partner. One of our partners is Muskegenics, and our partner's son won a muskie fishing tournament over the weekend, and anyway, builds his own lures. And actually, you're getting a package from them.
Sweet, that's awesome.
So I know
man.
you're going to love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been muskie fishing twice.
We're taking care of you and Steve both. You and Steve both will be getting a couple of packages. So
awesome. We appreciate that.
No, man. Yeah. Well, first of all, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show with us. I know you're busy and stuff, and man, don't
tell him that much. He ain't that fucking busy. Don't let him. But wait, let's before we go too far.
Oh, we're not going to. We got to get a favorite song. You got a favorite victory song? You got something that you listen to?
Oh, I already know it.
I want to know what your go-to song is.
After I win.
I don't care what you got a favorite song. I want a favorite song of Jonathan Davenport. I want to know what's on your playlist, and I want to know what's kind of like. Gordy, you know what is it?
He's probably better than I am at that. I don't really know. I just listen to whatever for sure.
I can't think of there's a few of them that I know because I can't remember the one last year at Fairbury. Hell, he was singing it, but couldn't remember the name of it. And then we finally dug it out. He's over there humming. I mean, it was like 3:30 in the morning, and he's over there going, man, I can't remember what it's called, but he's like singing every word to it. And then we find like 5 minutes, we're like, all right, never mind. And all of a sudden he's like, wait, I remember it. Give me the phone. And then we turned it on, but it's more like he's an old country. It's like some old Hank and all that. That's kind of what. Now there is obviously some new stuff, but a lot of times that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what mood I'm in. I listen to anything from Waylon to Marilyn Manson. I don't care. At sometimes everything has its time. So yeah,
good. I like that.
Yeah. Every time I will say, like when I went and stayed out at the ranch. I guess that would have been 22 or 23. We stayed a couple different times, but the most fun we had is I wish we could see it, but is they got Blaine's Hill, which sits out, just beyond the shops back there. And every night we'd go sit out on this hill because it's so high up in the air and the sun sets out perfectly and it's cool. And hell, we'd go out there with a full cooler of beer and just have it on. And it is so much fun going out there because you have, obviously your property's awesome. I mean, a lot of people got to see it on flow, but when you really obviously all the times we've gone out there and rode around in the geo trackers and did all that, it's a blast. We went piling out there. The first time I went, he's like, hop in this thing. I'm like, 6'6" JD hopping in this little tiny ass geo tracker. And we're just hauling ass through the fields. It is as much fun as you can imagine going out there. But it's, I don't know. I haven't even got to see the pool hall since it's been done, or the bar, but I wish we could see that so you could show everybody at home how cool that is.
Man, I know it. Yeah, that's I really wish we could have done that, but hell, I guess I ain't paid my bill for a while. The Wi-Fi didn't work when I got home. So no, we had a bad storm this weekend and knocked some stuff out. So I got great neighbors. I'm over at their house right now. Had to borrow their Wi-Fi. So thank goodness for them. Shout out to Anderson County Coroner's Office. We really appreciate them. So my neighbor's awesome.
Awesome. The best was the day we were at the shop and he come flying over in the helicopter and so sitting in the so his neighbor's a cop there in Anderson County, and hey, the one day we're sitting out there and we hear the helicopter and it's kind of circling and he's like, oh shit, I know who that is. We walk out there and next thing you know, he's getting text to his phone and he's sending pictures down of the property layout and all this stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Ross is an awesome guy for sure. It's good to have good neighbors when I'm gone all the time, and I know Rachel and Blaine be taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, in reality, Rachel's actually like, she's the man of the house around there. She actually does everything. JD just shows up and says he does.
Yeah, I guess so. That's right.
I will say that one of the other times was when hell, he put me to work the last time I was down there. We were pulling fence posts and all kind of stuff, and he has this big dozer out there, and he kept saying, I think I want to move this tree. And I'm like, all right, well, how you gonna do that? And he's like, hold my beer, I got an idea. All right. Hell, he just pushed this big ass tree clean on over with the bucket of this thing. And it was hell, that tree was probably what, 150 foot to 100 foot tall. It was a big ass tree.
Oh yeah, it was a big one. Yeah. Well, I mean, we was going to move it anyway. Eventually, we just had to have something to do at that time.
Yeah. So what about Blaine? Is Blaine, racing wise and stuff, is that something he wants to do? I know he plays a lot of football and baseball and all those things, but what's is he, racing wise, you think he's gonna kind of follow in the footsteps or what?
I don't know. He's like I say, he's starting to show a little bit more interest in it now. When he was younger, he didn't give a shit about it. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not pushing him into anything. He can do whatever he wants to. If he wants to be a race car driver, then I'll try to give him as good as opportunity as I can. But I feel like he's going to have to do it the right way. He's going to have to come work on him and learn what he's racing. I think that's it. That's the best way to be successful. I know a lot of people can do it the other way, but that's not the way I was raised, and that's not the way I know how to do it. So the only way I know how to teach it is how I know.
No, absolutely. Well, talk about, piggybacking off of everything success wise at Eldora. I think it's funny, everybody comparing you and Scott, and all the, and all the accolades you guys have up there. But I think a lot of people don't realize the respect that both of you cared for each other, just in general, and how much obviously you guys both pushed each other over the years, to try to be the best at Eldora. That's both the places that you guys accomplished the most at. But, talk about how much respect you had for him kind of growing up and racing with him and what you learned from him throughout the years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Scott was always the one that won the big money, on the last night, or, the crown jewel, so to speak, or whatever. So, I always just watched and learned what he did on the racetrack. And so we there towards the later part of his career, we was battling a lot. We didn't really butt heads much. There was only a couple of instances that me and him got together, even though we raced a whole lot. But I think as much respect that I had for him, and then the way that I raced him, eventually he had that respect back for me. And then we got to where we talked, every now and then. We didn't talk a lot. It wasn't like we were best buddies or nothing, but we was definitely more than just a acquaintance at the racetrack. So that was cool. To not say somebody I looked up to, but somebody that I almost took as a mentor that he didn't even know that, because I just studied everything that he did, as far as driving and how he would just really set himself up to run a long distance race. I definitely learned a lot off of him.
There's a lot of similarities with you and him if you watch that race Saturday. Just the way you drive and the way he drives. There's a lot of similarities, Jonathan. The two of you have. You got a story that you could share that maybe like people don't know a little bit about, like maybe it was something you guys were in in the pits, and just laughing with it, a driver's meet or something, you and Scott, you remember anything kind of?
Yeah. I mean, there's one that I've had, I guess this is one I've had some questions about. So, when Flo did something at Scott's, they showed one of my door panels up at his place. So it was actually the Brewster Baker door from the 2019 World 100. So the backstory on that was we was at, I think, Phoenix City or something or another, and it had a bad weekend, and I forget what and all went on with us. I think it was actually I drove Donald Bradford's car. Maybe that's when it was. Probably was in 2017. But anyway, so he had a door laying there, and I don't have anybody's door but Gordy's and Scott's. So I asked him if I could
Talk
have
about
that
the
door.
yin and the yang.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. So I asked him if I could have that door, and he's like, Scott sells them at that time for probably $1,500 or $1,000, whatever. And he looked at me, he's like, yeah, you can have it, but that door come off whatever World 100 that he won. I don't know if it was the year before then or whatever. I think it was. And that was that car, that door. And he said, the next time you win a World 100, I want the door off of it. I'm like, all right, deal. So anyway, that's where that door came from. I got to give it to him because we took that car to Knoxville. And so I'm like, well, I done promised Scott this door. So I took it off the car, put another door on to go to Knoxville. We killed that car. That's where I learned you don't take another car to Knoxville that you like. And so later on at Brownstown, I carried that door over to him. And it was Randy Sweet up in his truck, Randy Sweet's son, Scott, all of us was up in there telling stories about this door and what he'd give to me a couple years before. So that was definitely kind of cool.
That's great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's good. I feel honored that mine and Scott's stores are the only ones at the ranch. So, but
It's only two I got.
I left one. I left one there because I had stopped there enough. I told him, I said, this would be like Gordy Gundaker Racing South. That was the idea. That way I would have my own little spot in the shop. We did some cool shit though. When we went there the first time, he didn't have nothing there for as far as like, a race shop style. So, we unloaded and we're back in the shop and we had to change a motor and he didn't have a cherry picker. So we tried to buy a cherry picker for like 3 days. Couldn't get a cherry picker. So finally we just decided that we were going to use this mini excavator. And we used the first day we used just a bucket tractor and took it out. And then we put it back in with the Mini X a couple of days later or whenever it was. And it was probably some of the most fun we have. I got a picture of JD in there just manhandling on the joysticks, lowering this motor back in there, wiggling it away. It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. Yeah.
No, yeah. Hey, we was like a ninja. We had to use our surroundings. We had to use whatever we had.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
JD, when you're watching the drivers of today, you see Bobby and some of these guys. I'd be curious to see, it's like, who are some of the kids that you see up and coming that we all need to be looking at?
Up and coming, they're already there. I mean, hell, you got Ricky, you got Bobby, you got Shepherd, obviously, you got Overton. That's probably the middle-aged ones. You got Devin, and then you're probably going to have another tier of guys coming there. I feel like I'm one of the older guys now. You got Dale, and then you got Shane and those guys, and then you got Timmy and you got Jimmy, and there's different age groups almost if you get to looking at it. But these guys, these younger guys are getting enough experience and getting smarter. And these cars, we've all got the same shit nowadays. So you can go buy whatever I got, just whatever we do to them a little bit different in our shop is the only difference. We all got the same tires. We only got 3 compounds we can run on. We all got the same wheels. We got the same shocks. We got the same springs. So there's nothing trick about our stuff anymore to separate the field. So it's actually more about just the driver communication to the crew chief, or if he's the crew chief, and just the driver himself.
Well, and I think that's the hardest part too now is how much it's changed in the last 10 years, right? I mean, obviously your stint with Rumley, you guys obviously worked great together and did a lot. And I think that really transformed to the level of what a crew chief meant to a team. I think at the end of the day, now, because I mean, you know how hard it is to go up and down the road. You got to have 3 guys, hell, 4 guys, whatever it is, to sustain being, relevant week in and week out, because there's so much work that goes into these cars just to make sure everything is correct. Because hell, it's minuscule at this point that if you're off just a little bit, how far, you go from the front row to the 4th row pretty quickly. And that driver information that you're talking about is probably what makes you as good as you are, because you're as picky as you are. But it's where you see some guys be really, really good one weekend, and next weekend they're in the middle of the pack and you don't know why. And maybe it's because they are a driver crew chief style, or they don't have those. But there are really good crew chiefs in our game, but it's limited at the end of the day, I would say, on who really knows their stuff and can take the feedback and turn it into speed every weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Just the raw crew chiefs, there's not many out there. There's not that many more younger guys coming into our sport that want to do this. It's a tough grind. I mean, there's not a lot of money in it for the crew guys, and you got to essentially work, twice as hard, twice as many hours, be gone all the time. So it's definitely difficult to bring the younger generation into, because they just don't understand it, or they don't love it as much as what we once did. Essentially, I know way back in the day, if you had a dually and a trailer, everybody was fighting just to try to get a seat in the truck to go to the racetrack. Well, now you got these big haulers that, we can sleep 7 or haul 35, and you can't get 3 people to go with you, and you have to pay them at that. So it's that the help has definitely changed just because of how competitive our sports got and the amount of work that goes into it.
Well, and I think too, I think there's a lot of guys that, it's nothing against them, but that think that they can that they want to work on these things, and you just hop on the road and you go, and they don't realize how much work really is put into these cars every day of the week and throughout the weekend. I mean, there's so much that is constantly happening. And then, the long hours on the road and back to the shop and unloading and washing everything you got. And if something goes wrong, what that takes, you blow a motor up and got to clean an oil system. And I think there's a lot of guys that I think maybe they want to do it, but are either scared to take the jump for it, or once they get into it, they don't want to do the hours that it really takes to kind of push through all that stuff to gain the knowledge. Because I think if a lot of guys would come on the road for a year or two, they would learn a lot rather quickly. But them first 6 months to a year, if you don't really know what's going on, it'll weed you out pretty quickly.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there's definitely a couple of them, quite a few of them actually that are coming up that are going to be very good, that want to be there. They don't have to be, but yeah. So there's still a few, but like you said, to start this, it was the crew chief guys are definitely few and far between. But we got to start looking somewhere else too for these guys, because there's a lot of guys in asphalt that are smart, that know how to do this stuff. So there's definitely other avenues that we can come out and or pick from, and hopefully find some more.
Yeah.
Barry Wright's
it
calling
just seems
me.
like,
Oh boy, old Barry.
Can I patch him through?
I wish we could. That would be.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, that would be one of the greatest things in the world.
Man, you talking about a good man right there that's taught me a lot. That's who righted my career from the wrong, for sure. He's a lot of what I do and what I know come from that man right there.
Yeah, he's a gem too. Like, not only has he been smart and built all these race cars for all these years, but just being around him, he is like doesn't try to be hilarious, but man, he'll have you in stitches in no time. He just cracks you up. He hollered me at that one year when Ziegler and Hoffman were driving for him at Fairbury. They parked right next to me, and hell, we had the speaker on all night. When he come out the next day and we're standing there, and he walked over and he said, "Hey, you come talk to me real quick." And I figured he wanted to talk about something serious. I don't know. And he said, "Hey, whenever we come to the races the next time and you know that you're going to be there," he said, "call and let me know ahead of time so I can park on the other side of the fucking pit area."
Oh yeah, that sounds like Barry.
That's great.
It was great. Yeah.
Well, I think what do we need? First of all, Jonathan, you need to thank all of your sponsors for taking the time with us tonight. Anybody you want to touch base, talk about a little bit?
Well, first of all,
yours, brother.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast for sure. I mean, it's like
you're going to be on again. You're going to be on again. I got a feeling you're going to be on a few times.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it's like what is it now? It's like Joe Rogan. He's got some kind of podcast. That Theo Von fella, and then it's like the Dirt Parlor. I mean,
that's it.
So that's what I've been hearing. So definitely thank y'all for having me on.
Oh, so where do we kind of come into that? I'm just curious. We get done with this. Where do we come in at this?
Oh, look, I mean, third largest podcast going right now, right?
I even got the 49 on the side of my hat.
There you go. Heck yeah, that's awesome.
I think the big thing is like knowing tonight, like, knowing where the 49 came from a little bit, talking about Superman a little bit. That's what really we want to, and plus talk about some things maybe that's not, you don't like what's going on. You want to talk about it or whatever. That's kind of what we want to do. We want to make sure we give you a platform. And I think the fans are enjoying the hell out of it, because they get to see a side of you that normally they wouldn't see. Just like the stories going back and forth. I think that's really cool.
Well, the good news is too, I mean, we did kind of call this, right?
You did.
I did. I told you last week, I called him when we left here last week. I said, "Hey, just so you know, when you win this weekend, you have to come on Monday." And, you said, "All right, I'll do it." But then, you're hesitant because you figured if you didn't win, you thought we were bringing the other winner on in front of you, so I get,
that's
you
what
really
I
wanted
say,
to be, so what you're saying is you really wanted to be on the Dirt Parlor is what you mean.
By myself. Yeah. I wanted to be on the Dirt Parlor, but with nobody else. I didn't want to be second fiddle to anybody. So I had to go ahead and step it up.
You know, what's crazy is Aaron Reitzel won the $100,000 sprint car race, and he was on the show right after he won. And now you come on after winning the $100,000. So,
is there anybody you want to win a race this weekend besides yourself? I'll call them right now. They're gonna for sure win. Wait, hold on. I gotta call myself. I gotta call myself.
I'm a GRT. We build winners.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna call myself when we get off here and invite myself on the Dirt Parlor next week.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Jonathan, man, we can't thank you enough, bud, for coming on and hanging out with us a little bit.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. And like I said before, I got to think Nutrient Ag Solutions with Steve Martin. He's doing a lot for y'all, and he's done so much for me and my family, my career. Lance and Darrell Landers, Dynagro Seed, ASC Warranty, Longhorn Chassis, Bill Stein Shocks, Longhorn Dynamics, VP Fuels, Mega Plumbing, Mark Martin Automotive, Bobcat of Batesville. We have so many great supporters, all of our product sponsors from Kaiser Wheel to Dyer Rods just come on board again. Have been long-time helpers of mine. Jack Cornett, I ran one of his motors this weekend where I usually run a Clements there. Nothing against Clements, just didn't work out. That's the motor we didn't have in the car this weekend, and they both do an excellent job for me. Burt Transmissions, Kevco Drive Shafts, just so many great supporters that I have. Can't thank them enough.
Yeah. Well, that's, as much as anybody, all those people and those partnerships go as far as they can, with your teams down the road. So make sure you get them right every time. Don't butcher the names, and start thanking the wrong people.
Every now and then, we spice things up. Not that we mean to. Not that we mean to. Man, I was so excited fucking finally win Fairbury again. You have no idea. Like, it's been every time I've been there since 2015, I wanted to pull my hair out. Like, I just either get lapped or I pull off, or I just am terrible. Just so yeah, to finally come back and win there, that's the only thing I was thinking about was finally getting back to victory lane there. And I had no idea that I had said, the other shock company twice, not once, but twice. I didn't even catch myself. And I got back to the truck and I had more text messages about what shocks I'm running than congratulations on winning the dream this weekend.
Oh, shit. I did. As soon as I heard it, I texted him right away. I said, I don't even know if you realize what you just said, but you said it twice.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, you did. Hey, you did a good job capitalizing on it though, because you got a lot of good branding the next couple of days of making sure you took all your videos and what shot company you were running. Yeah. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You did it on purpose. You were trying to get them an extra spotlight. That's what you meant to say.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you got to throw the other guys a bone every now and then, but it'll come back twofold for you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's good. You kept them in the back burner just in case. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on, man. It's been a blast.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you, JD.
Congrats again, man, on the big win, brother. Great job.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Dirt Parlor. Another great show that we had tonight, and we're excited for what may come next week. We don't know who our guest is going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be something awesome. So make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all of our social medias on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we'll see you guys next week.